Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another episode of Gameable Audio, the video game music podcast. I am your host Kristoffer Schenström, and today we're going to talk about OCRemixes. That's right, folks, we're going back and listening to some Overclocked remixes made by different kind of people, of course. So, I have actually handpicked 3 different tracks today that I got really hooked on. It's a pure coincidence because I started noticing that they're all Nintendo games when I started researching, and I was thinking maybe I should switch them up so we have some other remixes. But since it is remixes, they're not entirely coming from like original state of mind, so to speak. They're not going through the same kind of audio chip and so on. These are unique remixes that I just found really interesting. So pure coincidence, I'm fully okay with listening to just Nintendo music for this episode as well. It's going to be a little bit shorter one, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the music, a little bit about the composers as usual, but also talk a little bit about my experiences from these games. So we're starting out this week with New Super Mario Bros. Wii and Welcome to Our House. It's a castle background music made by DCT. There we're fading out the more hip-hop R&B vibe style. It was DCT from the New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and the song track was Welcome to Our House. This was a castle background music cover or remix out of this track, and I really adore this one. So neat, plain, basically. That's what I like the most about it. It was a really relaxed track. It still has a really good flow to it, and it was just really well composed, in my opinion, together with some original parts inside this, while together incorporating the original castle background music. So, looking at the original composers for this game, we have the Japanese Shihoi Fuji and Ryo Nagamatsu. The game here was developed by the Japanese company Nintendo EAD and was released back in 2009 for the Nintendo Wii. The game was later then also ported for both the Wii U in 2016 and also through Nvidia's Lightspeed Studios, which is a port studio basically for Android devices, and this was only released back in China. Considering this remix was created and made by the American, and the name he utilizes today is Sonic Skills, and he's usually utilizing this DCT. But the name of this guy is Dwayne Thorpe. I really hope that's how he explains it. It's Thor, so Thor and then PE. So I really hope I didn't botch that last name. And he posted his first remix back on OCRemixes back in May the 9th, 2005. His first remix shown on OCRemixes is the name Memories Frozen in Time. It was an arrangement between the Ice Cap Zone Act 1 and the Sky Sanctuary Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog. Then back in 2010 he released two more remixes on OCRemixes. The first one was for Mega Man X5. I haven't played that one myself, so I'm a little bit unsure specifically what I think about that game, but I really love and adore the X series so far. However, I've only played it on the Super Nintendo. But the track's name there is Moonlit Vibin', and then we have Nights into Dreams, the Polar Express, and in 2011 he releases the Nairobi Hop. And this was just a large hip-hop-esque collaboration together with like I think it was 4 or 5 other composers or singers, because we have 3 different singers where Mega Ran is one of them. And this was from the game The Super Dodgeball. And then we have Ocean View from Sonic the Hedgehog back in 2015. And lastly, this remix, which was released this year on April the 20th. Looking at Sonic's skills here, he is working on his own original music primarily, working with contemporary hip-hop, R&B, and electronic music. And I just gave it a little bit of a go. He actually released quite recently a new album, and it was just a really nice synthwavy-esque vibing track. Not just track, it's an album. It's a full album out there on SoundCloud. And I highly recommend you guys to check this one out. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Definitely go and listen to all the different tracks. And I can highly recommend just doing that with all the different composers that we have today. Even though some of them has done way less than others. Definitely just check in their work because it's pure amazing. So considering the new Super Mario Bros. For the Wii, I actually played this a little bit way back. I did own a Wii quite early, but I never really owned the new Super Mario Bros. For the console. It actually took quite a while before I actually had it in my collection. I have it today, but I actually played this in the Swedish holiday called Vol.1. And specifically during these times, I actually had a friend where I basically just met him once a year, and this was that specific time. And my friend here was actually a collector of Nintendo games, and he really adored Nintendo. I'm definitely sure he still does that, and I love him for a lot of different reasons. But just having that sort of collection was really impressive in my opinion. And we had this specific day where we didn't really have that much contact during the year, I could still just feel very welcome coming up to his door, knocking, and he just invites me. And having that kind of special relationship is just pure, in my opinion. We don't need to have anything basically on each other. We just having a good time once a year, and it was amazing, in my opinion. But considering the game here, I really adore the Mario games, but I am actually having some troubles with the Wii and the Wii U games, because in these games you are able to play at the same time with other players, and up to 4 players at the same time on the screen. Usually, considering that there are other games that do have the multiplayer kind of thing on one screen, couch co-op, as people might say. The problem with Mario, though, is that they have collisions on everything. And playing this game, and when you end up in, for example, in the sand world, you end up with really small platforms from time to time, and you're still limited to this screen, so you can't really run off the screen, because you will either push off your friends, or they will hold you back to push you down the cavities and so on. So I really found it problematic at some point, but at the same time there are uses to this. For example, you are able to pick up your friends and toss them around. Usually it's not used in that kind of sense, because you usually pick someone up and just throw them down the cavities on purpose, because it's fun. Not really caring about how many continues you play through during that gameplay. But considering if you have a really hard jump that you need to complete, then you can actually pick up your friend, and then, just like when you're sacrificing Yoshi, you're sacrificing yourself, throwing your friend to safety, so you know you can continue on that level, and then just die yourself. Of course, you're returned later in the bubble, like a classic Yoshi's Island kind of thematic when Mario's screaming, though it's less screaming now. But still, it's just so much fun, so much things going on, still chaotic, and still super fun to toss people, just like the old Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers game. It's just fun to throw shit at your friends and toss them down cliffs. Highly recommend! With that said, it's time to go for the next song. So, next up we have Shimpzilla, and Admix, and this is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Potion is the song name, and this is a cover of The Witch's House.
You've woken it up, the king of living in the cusp. It's so fucking hard to stay asleep when you keep calling on to me. It's so unfair, I just act like I don't need ya. All of the reasons I could give don't mean a damn thing. Forget the sweet talk, all the wasted time convincing me I still hold the will to my own fate.
You drive me really crazy with that tone that you're talking and don't wanna hear. Just take a sip, just slip into your music
And lie down and maybe try to think these things through. You've woken it up, the king of living in the cusp. It's so fucking hard to stay asleep when you keep calling on to me. Why is it so unfair? I just act like I don't need ya, but all I see in front of me is drinking bird leaves. Used to pop pills and just wait for the next season, but now I'm waiting on the day I keep my head clean. Keep my head clean. All I got is ocean to keep me steady, just to fix when things get all too heavy.
I got a feeling that you're not even here.
And there we're going out with the track Potion, the Witch's House remix made by Shimpzilla and Admix. And this was from The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. And I really freaking adore this one. This was actually the first track that I picked for this week because it just really had me hooked. I really liked the deepness of it. It's like a trap hip-hop kind of style. And just having vocals to this as well. And the more I kind of researched on this and the more I read upon this track, and considering a little bit about the people that worked on this remix as well, I just found it more and more compelling, to be honest. And I was just stoked to actually have it on the show. So, considering the original composers then for this game, and we are going to repeat Ryo Nagamatsu here, because he was the composer for A Link Between Worlds. The game here was also developed by Nintendo EAD and released exclusively on the 3DS back in the 22nd of November back in 2013. And checking out this remix now then, we do have Shimpzilla, which is Christina Scheps, making the full production together with Admix, which is Aaron Corbett. Corbett, he worked with and wrote with the lyrics and also some unique melodies. I don't know specifically what within this track though, but I really like that he did work on the lyrics. And checking out in this remix, it kind of comes with some issues right from the start, as Shimpzilla actually had another co-writer that kind of pulled out of the project due to life circumstances. This song, it kind of collected dust for about 2 years before Shimpzilla worked together with Admix. And he did have issues providing lyrics for this specific song initially, as they wanted to have that kind of addiction, substance kind of dependency within this track. which also would be appropriate because of the potion theme that this song gives. Considering also that Admix did write all the lyrics, but he also sung both of the voices. He sings the male part, but he also, with voice manipulation, plays the female part as Yua. Not to be confused with the game's boss, Yuga. Because Yua is not related to the game in any sense, it's just a character that Admix works together in his music. So it's kind of still an original character that it does have, and I really kind of like that kind of vibe into it. So considering this song and considering that he actually does both of the song, I actually thought it was Chimpasilla that did the female part here, and they had some sort of vocoder or something to mystify it a bit. But no, it is actually Admix that does this, and it was so freaking interesting. Considering the game here as well, I just really adored this game. I played it in like one go. I'm just a sucker when it comes to Zelda games in 2D. A Link to the Past is one of my favorite games back on the Super Nintendo, and when this game released, I was like a little bit unsure. I knew it was a direct sequel to the game. Of course, there's a couple of years between the stories, but I was very confused at first, but seeing some reviews and seeing some gameplay actually had me interested. But it took a while before I got this game, but when I finally got it, I was like, okay, when am I going to play this? At that point in time, I actually was quite busy with other games and so on, so we kind of just collected dust, just like the song, to some extent. Not for 2 years, but together with Videospelsklubben, we had these live streaming events, and every time I was off the screen, not in the stream itself, playing some games, I was actually playing A Link Between Worlds, and I don't remember exactly how much time it took, but I was freaking hooked on this game. I was actually kind of stuck playing that and ignoring the stream a little bit because I was so into the experience. It was so much fun. All the new kind of elements, you can become a painting on the wall, moving around like Flat Link. It just worked, everything, and I bought the whole sinker, hook, and line. Definitely, one of my favorite games when it comes to the Zelda series, to be honest. Considering also the remix artists here, let's start looking into a little bit of their work as well. So we start out with Chimpasilla, who have shared remixes on OCRemixes back in 2013, starting out with a track from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and this was the track Forest of Purple Mist, a remix on the track Faron Woods. She also worked on a whole lot of different remixes, with multiple remixes released every year. And just not to go through, because there were quite many remixes, so yet again, highly recommend, just go check her out. But some of the titles that she has worked on with these remixes, in case you are for something specific, she worked on multiple remixes for Ocarina of Time, Yoshi's Touch and Go, Terranigma, Plants vs. Zombies, Breath of the Wild, and the kind of new Mega Drive game, if I remember correctly, the Tangle Deep. And that was also a just fun find, to be honest, because I haven't heard much about this game more than they did like the Kickstarter, and then they started releasing. I saw some ads on top of it because I wanted more to purchase this game. So it was just a fun thing to see. I also listened to one of them, and yeah, highly recommend. Considering the next one, Admix here, started out on remixes at the same time, not specifically the same time, but in the same year nonetheless, 2013. And he started by releasing Now You're All Alone. And no, this is not a Zelda title. Theoretically, it could have been. It's dangerous to go alone, but now you are all alone. But no, this is from the game Yume Nikki. And in the same year, he did work on the track called Broken Wings from StarCraft 2, the Wings of Liberty expansion or game, because it came out with 3 different sections of the game, porting it out par on par. In 2014, he also did 2 songs, the Lost in Time from Chrono Trigger and the Meus Caligora from the Pela Magi Madoka Magica Portable. I'm just doing Spanish accent on that one because it was fully just in Spanish. But yeah, this is the Magi Madoka magician. I kind of know a little bit about this, but I've never really seen or played anything on that IP. I'm just aware that it exists. So I'm pretty sure they don't have everything in Spanish on that one. Pretty sure about that one. But anyway, back to AdMix here. It took a while after that one before we were able to see the next song on OCRemix, because it took all the way until 2022, and this was the 27th of July to be more precise. Then we get the track Cowboy from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. And the latest song was this Potion song, which was released on OCRemix back in May the 19th this year, 2023. So yeah, I really adore this one. The darkness, the deepness of it, the lyrics was just... It was a home run in my opinion, and I hope you guys agreed on this one. Of course, if you don't, that's fine with me. There's a lot of remix. I know even some of you guys have had a discussion with me that you're not super fan of remixes. Maybe you're not gonna listen to this, or maybe you do and you start to say, okay, I dig this shtick of having remixes. These were nice. Then we have met up on par. There are songs that I don't like, and that's just life, in all honesty. To be honest, I'm not usually a fan of the whole trap beat, hip-hop, R&B, but the first two songs we listened to here were really good. So, I mean, I'm up for change too, just saying, and just everybody keep an open mind. There's a lot of things we can get from this, in my opinion. Last song of the week, though. It is time. And I basically kind of chose this to be last because this was my favorite track of this week. We're going to listen to a remix from the Donkey Kong Country from the warehouse level, but this one is called Fear Factory and was remixed by Brian L. Fading out, Brian L. This was the Donkey Kong Country Fear Factory. This was a remix of the warehouse level from Donkey Kong Country, and I really freaking love this song. Holy crap! This is like one of those tracks I can go with my car and just really vibe to it. Going on a highway, you have the lights going vroom, vroom, vroom. Really gives that kind of cyberpunk-esque vibe, to be honest. It's dancey, it's really electronic, and it comes with attitude, and I really adore this. Especially what we hear in the background right now. It's just something that really grasped me while I was listening to this track, and I can't really put much other words before I'm starting to repeat to myself over and over again. So let's skip that one and let's get back to the information here. So the original composition here for the Donkey Kong Country games were by the British David Wise, Evelyn Novakovic, and Robin Beanland. The game was developed by the British company Rare, which a lot of people might already know of, and the game was released on the original Super Nintendo back in 1994. The game later got ports for the Game Boy Color back in 2000, and then the Game Boy Advance in 2003. Though to have some sort of information surrounding these ports, they also came with some extra levels, but also some different kind of mini games included into the game. So there are some changes in the games, just so people are aware of them. So they're not fully straight on ports, basically. Considering this game otherwise, it also was released on Virtual Console and got releases on the Wii back in 2006, the Wii U in 2014, handheld with Nintendo 3DS in 2016, and lastly on Nintendo Switch back in 2020. So, considering Donkey Kong Country, this is one of those games that I played in my younger days, never completed because this game is freaking brutal. Especially those games when you're going around in the frickin' minecarts. But for some reason, I have such nostalgia to this game, and it really still holds really well today. It's a great game, it has a lot of functionalities that you don't usually have in games back in the day. So they were kind of unique, not just art style-wise, but how the game was played. You have this kind of coyote jump that we call in game development, where you basically can run over an edge, and you can still utilize that jump button. And this is utilized a lot of times in Donkey Kong Country, so it's really good that you get a good glimpse and good kind of feel for this early from the start, because if you're able to master this early on, you're going with flying colors through this game later. Just saying. But this is definitely a really good track, and well, usually when I'm thinking about Donkey Kong Country, it's usually the ambience aquatic ambience. Aquatic ambience is the correct, yeah, it is. But that is the track that I usually just think about. And then you have Jib Jig from the second game, you have Sticker Brush Symphony in the second game, and so on. But from the first game, there are some of those original ones. I really love the title track and so on. Fear Factor has never really been one of my favorite ones, but considering this track is definitely going up on my top 5, because I really adored this track. And yeah, considering the early on, so I'm just gonna talk just a couple of more seconds, and then I'm just gonna be a tad quiet, because I just love how the initial drums kind of comes off right from the start of this song. We're getting closer to the end of the song right now here in the background, so I'm going to talk a little bit slower so we can get to the end, and then I'm going to be quiet right now so we can listen to the starts. Listen. Listening to those initial drums there, for some reason, I don't know out of which mind, but for some reason, I'm just getting... I'm getting rickrolled here, to be honest. It feels so weird. I just love this. I felt this from the first time I was listening to this song, but I also had that vibe, and it was also noted down on the comments of this song on OCRemixes. But anyway, considering Brian L here, he is a Belgian, and sadly enough, to be honest, I'm actually really sad about this. This is his only track released on OCRemixes, and I just love this track, and I would have liked to have more. But I don't know what's up with this, but he is working on original content through his SoundCloud, and I haven't really pinpointed if he's working on just original content or if it's actually working on video games, making soundtracks for them. But considering this specific track that he did release, he released this back in May the 21st, back in 2018. So it is kind of a new, it's 5 years on the head, or in the age of this song. Sadly, we didn't have a 5-year anniversary on it, but anyway, it is what it is. Now, I really adore this track, so well done, Brian, on this one. I adored it. And everybody else that we've been listening, Chimpzilla, Admix, and also DCT. Really great job on today's tracks that we listened to here at Gameable Audio. Just loved it. Highly recommend for everybody else who want and needs to listen to more of these people. Links will be in the main post on videospexurban.se. So, with that said, I'm not gonna close down the episode like straight off right now, but I need to inform you guys of a little bit of an happening that is going on. But let's just say I'm not gonna post this myself. I've already posted this on social media, so people that have already been following on the Discord or been following on Facebook already know about this one. But it's about the next episode, so I let Ed take it away. So with that said, here comes the promo.
Hey everyone, it's Ed from the VG Embassy. It's almost June, and I'm sure you know what that means. It's almost time for the Masters of VGM event. This is an event where for the entire month, all of your favorite VGM podcasts will focus on one theme around video game music composers. This year, we're sharing composers that we feel might deserve a little bit more of the spotlight than they're currently getting. There's going to be a ton of shows participating. Let me see, I have that list here. Hey, Larry, you got that list? No, not the grocery list. The list of all the podcasts. Yeah. What do you mean you gave it to me already? No, I don't have it. I'll look. All right. Oh, here it is. My bad. All right, so it's going to be my show, as well as Nerd Noise Radio, Shujin Academy VGM Club, A VGM Journey, VG Emporium, Re-VGM, Gameable Audio, VG Mania, Rhythm and Pixels, CRT Sound System, Volt Supreme Synth VGM Dreamstream Machine, and more. More? What do you mean more, Larry? Who's the more? No, I don't know. You put more on here. All right, well, I guess there's going to be more. If you want to find out who the more is, check out mastersofvgm.com on your favorite web browser, or hit up the tweets at mastersofvgm. We hope you enjoy the event.
Thank you so much, Ed, for that promo. I really hope everybody that is listening currently are also interested in checking out this event. It's a huge event with a lot of different podcasts, and we're all going to talk about the Masters of VGM. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the unspoken composers here. So everybody's basically digging up of new composers that haven't really done much work until recently, to be honest, and that we think have potential. Of course, there's a lot of different ones. It's hard to cover each and every one of them, but it's definitely going to be a super interesting topic this year, in my opinion, because considering how it works with everybody, with how they kind of work and how they kind of reach out, I think this is a great potential for studios out there to kind of get a good glimpse of, okay, these are really good composers that are up and coming. Maybe we can get them before they're super famous, like everybody that is super famous today. So I think it comes with a lot of great deal of potential, to be honest, and that's why I really adore this topic. So we've been discussing during this year, okay, what are we going to cover on Masters of the VGM this year? And it's been some discussions back and forth, because a lot of these different podcasts are covering different bits. For example, what if this podcast who only covers old retro consoles, there's no new games coming out for those? And of course, they can still focus on composers and so on. And we kind of still wanted to leave it as open as possible, but still having this over-the-top kind of topic on it to try and get as close as possible. Definitely super fun topic. Looking forward to digging more into this one. So yeah, next episode is going to be the Masters of VGM 2023. With that said, it is time to finally close down this episode. We're up in the usual 30 minutes when I'm alone, so thank you all for listening in. Other episodes of the Gameable Audio, you can find those on our homepage, videospelsklubben.se, Spotify, or in your closest podcast app. If you're utilizing any sort of app where you don't have the podcast, feel free to reach out to me, and I will try my best to hook it up into that service. Feel also free to follow and comment on one of our social medias, either on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Gameable Audio, and every little comment, every little like and follow, it really helps a lot. So it's a good way for me to get to know you guys. If you want to have a specific topic you want to hear about, or if you would like to talk a little bit more about just music on the different topics, or have some suggestions for the next episode, if you have a composer, since there are so many new ones, if you have a composer that is quite new within the video game music, feel free to share those, because I would love to get to know a little bit more, because I far from know everything. So considering that, you can also support the podcast and the future content and quality upgrades for it, because I would love to have more better microphones. I would like to travel around and talk to actual composers eye to eye, and so on. But also just purchasing all the music for the podcast. Everything kind of comes through Patreon. And also, in the end, what I'm going to do with the things I earn from Patreon, when I don't need the money anymore, when I have the equipment I need in order to support the podcast with music and together with the other things such as the quality upgrades. When I don't need more money, we're going to make a fund out of this. We're going to push money to the future composers. So if you would like to support that for a good cause in the end, feel free to become a Patreon. And the current Patreon backers, because on every step of the way, everybody gets a shout out. So we will see how many people we can get at the end of these episodes, and hopefully we can see it rise in ranks as well. So the current awesome backers that we do have today is Daniel Onemark, Lars Schenström, Titti Schenström, Kevin Wikström, and Mike Björkholm. Thank you so much for being part and supporting this podcast. Links where you can either buy or support the composers behind the music that we'll listen to today. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about, but I'm going to post about OCRemixes, because everything on that homepage is for free, and you're free to utilize the music in the sense you want, as long as you're not reselling it. You can still utilize it on a lot of commercial parts and so on, but do think that you need to comment on utilizing these tracks. Of course, you can read more on the licenses in case you are unsure on what the hell is going on with each and every of these. Anyway, everything will be posted in the main post at videospelsklubben.sc. And as I said, the next episode, Masters of VGM 2023. With that said, thank you all for listening in on Gameable Audio, and see you all guys next time!